The gunshot echoed through the parking garage, and Destiny Robinson threw herself over Jung Kyung-soo's body without thinking. Glass shattered around them, raining down like diamonds in the dim light. His arms wrapped around her waist, rolling them both behind his car as another shot rang out. "Are you insane?" he hissed, his dark eyes blazing with something she couldn't name, anger, fear, something deeper. "You could have been killed." She met his gaze, her heart hammering against her ribs. "So could you." For 3 seconds, the world stopped. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing across her cheekbone, and she saw it, the crack in his carefully constructed armor. This man who commanded fear and respect in equal measure, who'd built an empire on ruthlessness and control, was looking at her like she'd just become the most important thing in his universe. "Destiny," he breathed, and the way he said her name made her forget they were hiding from bullets. The fluorescent lights of Mama Chen's kitchen cast a warm glow over the worn linoleum floor, as Destiny Robinson balanced 3 plates on her left arm and 2 more in her right hand. Her natural hair was pulled back in a neat puff, small gold hoops catching the light as she moved with practiced efficiency through the cramped dining room. She'd been waitressing here for 2 years, ever since she'd moved to Chicago from Atlanta, with nothing but a suitcase and determination. "Order up, Destiny," Chen called from the kitchen, his accent thick but familiar now. "Coming." She delivered the plates to table 7 with a smile that reached her warm brown eyes, the kind of genuine warmth that made customers remember her. Tips were better when you actually cared, and she needed every dollar she could get. Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. She ignored it. Probably her best friend Mariah again, still pushing that ridiculous blind date idea. 3 weeks of relentless pestering about how Destiny needed to get back out there after her ex had left her high and dry. The lunch rush finally ebbed around 2:30. Destiny leaned against the counter, rolling her shoulders to ease the familiar ache. Her black t-shirt and jeans weren't glamorous, but they were practical. Everything in her life was practical now. Had to be when you were working 2 jobs to afford a studio apartment in a city that cost more than you'd ever imagined. "You look tired, sweetie." Mrs. Chen emerged from the kitchen, her weathered face creased with concern. The elderly woman had become something of a surrogate grandmother to Destiny, always making sure she ate during her shifts. "I'm fine, Mrs. Chen. Just thinking." "About that date Mariah keeps mentioning?" Mrs. Chen's eyes twinkled. "Maybe you should go. When was the last time you did something just for you?" Destiny laughed, the sound a little hollow. "I don't have time for dating. Between here and my night shift at the hotel—" "You work too much. You're young, beautiful, smart." Mrs. Chen patted her hand. "Life is more than just surviving, honey." Before Destiny could respond, the bell above the door chimed. She glanced up reflexively and felt her breath catch. 4 men entered, and they commanded attention in a way that made everyone in the restaurant go quiet. They wore expensive suits that probably cost more than Destiny made in 3 months. But it was the man in the center who made her pulse skip, tall, with sharp features and jet-black hair styled perfectly. His dark eyes swept the room with the kind of assessment that said he missed nothing. Jung Kyung-soo. She didn't know his name yet, but she could feel his presence like a physical weight in the air. "Welcome, sit anywhere," Mrs. Chen called out, her usual cheerfulness slightly strained. The group moved to the corner booth, the one that gave a view of both the entrance and the kitchen. Strategic. Destiny had waitressed long enough to recognize people who thought about exits and sightlines. "Destiny, you take them," Mrs. Chen whispered. "Be careful, be polite." Something in her tone made Destiny's instincts prickle, but she grabbed her notepad and approached the table with her professional smile firmly in place. "Good afternoon, gentlemen. What can I get you today?" 3 of the men studied their menus, but the one in the center, the one who'd caught her attention, looked directly at her. His gaze was intense, analytical, like he was cataloging every detail. It should have made her uncomfortable. Instead, it made her stand straighter, meet his eyes with her own unwavering stare. "Do you have recommendations?" His voice was smooth, with the barest hint of an accent. Korean, she thought, though his English was impeccable. The bulgogi is excellent. Mrs. Chen makes it with a family recipe. The kimchi jjigae is popular too, especially if you want something warming. You know Korean food. It wasn't a question. I know good food. I've worked here long enough to try everything on the menu. She kept her tone professional but friendly. Multiple times, something flickered in his expression, amusement maybe or interest. We'll take 4 orders of the bulgogi and tea. Green tea or barley? Green. She wrote it down, acutely aware that he was still watching her. I'll have that right out for you. As she turned to leave, his voice stopped her. What's your name? She looked back over her shoulder. Destiny. Destiny. He repeated it like he was testing how it felt. Unusual name. My mother was optimistic. She flashed him a quick smile and headed to the kitchen, feeling his gaze follow her until she disappeared through the swinging door. Who are they? She asked Mrs. Chen quietly as she hung the order ticket. Mrs. Chen's expression tightened. Businessmen. Don't ask questions, Destiny. Just be polite and let them be. But Destiny had grown up in Atlanta, had seen enough to recognize danger when it walked through the door wearing expensive suits. These weren't businessmen, at least not the legal kind. She delivered their food with efficient courtesy, refilled their tea without being asked, and kept her distance. But every time she moved through the dining room, she felt his eyes tracking her, not in a predatory way, more like he was solving a puzzle. When they finally finished and stood to leave, the man, the leader, approached the register where Destiny was counting receipts. The meal was excellent. He placed several $100 bills on the counter. Keep the change. Destiny looked at the money, then at him. It was easily 3 times what their meal had cost. Sir, that's too much. Consider it an appreciation for good service. His dark eyes held hers, and good recommendations. He turned to leave, and Destiny found herself speaking before she could think better of it. You didn't try the kimchi jjigae? He paused, looking back. Perhaps next time. Will there be a next time? The corner of his mouth lifted, barely, but it transformed his face from intimidating to devastating. I think so. Yes. Then he was gone, the bell chiming cheerfully as the door closed behind him and his associates. Destiny stared at the money on the counter, her heart doing something complicated in her chest. That man is dangerous, Destiny, Mrs. Chen said softly. Whatever you're thinking, stop. I'm not thinking anything. But even as she said it, she knew it was a lie. Her phone buzzed again. This time she checked it. Mariah. The date is set. Saturday 7 p.m. Romano's. Don't even think about cancelling. His name is Kyung-soo. Successful. Handsome. My cousin swears he's perfect. You are going. Destiny stared at the message, then at the door where the mysterious man had disappeared. Kyung-soo. How many men in Chicago had that name? What are the odds? She whispered. Saturday evening arrived with the kind of humidity that made Chicago feel like Atlanta in August. Destiny stood in front of her tiny bathroom mirror, second-guessing everything about her outfit. The burgundy wrap dress had been a splurge from 6 months ago, bought for a job interview that never panned out. Now it was her only option that said nice restaurant, without screaming, trying too hard. Her natural hair was styled in twist-out curls that framed her face, and she'd applied just enough makeup to highlight her features, warm brown skin glowing with a touch of highlighter. Dark eyes lined with precision, lips painted a deep wine that matched her dress. You look beautiful, she told her reflection, trying to convince herself. And this is probably not the same guy. Chicago is huge. Lots of Korean men named Kyung-soo. Her phone buzzed. Mariah. Car is outside. Don't chicken out. Love you. Destiny took a breath, grabbed her clutch, really just a small purse that passed for fancy, and headed downstairs. Romano's was exactly the kind of place she'd never been able to afford. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, waiters in actual tuxedos. She felt out of place the moment she walked through the door, hyper-aware of every head that turned to look at her. "Reservation name?" the hostess asked with the kind of smile that was professional but not warm. "I'm meeting someone, Kyung-soo." The hostess's expression shifted, subtle but Destiny caught it. Surprise, maybe a touch of nervousness. "Right this way, miss." They wound through the restaurant to a private section in the back. More exclusive, more expensive. Destiny's stomach knotted with each step. Then she saw him. Jung Kyung-soo sat at a table near the window, his profile sharp against the Chicago skyline behind him. He wore a black suit with a white shirt open at the collar, and he looked both out of place and perfectly at home in the opulent surroundings. Like he owned it, but didn't care about it. He looked up as she approached, and his expression went through a fascinating transformation. Surprise, recognition, and something she couldn't quite name. Destiny Robinson. He stood, and she realized again how tall he was, how his presence seemed to fill the space. "This is unexpected. You knew my last name." It wasn't an accusation, just an observation. "I make it a point to know things." He gestured to the chair across from him. "Please." She sat hyper-aware of his gaze tracking her every movement. "So you're the mystery man Mariah's been harassing me about. And you're the woman my business associate's cousin insisted would be perfect for me." His tone was dry. "I agreed to one date to stop the harassment." "Same." Destiny set her clutch on the table. "Let me guess, you don't do this often." "Blind dates, never. Dating in general." He poured water into her glass with movements that were economical and precise. "Rarely." "Why agree to this one?" His dark eyes met hers directly. Curiosity. About whether the woman who faced down 4 strangers in a restaurant with nothing but confidence and good service would be interesting off the clock. Heat crept up her neck, but she refused to look away. "And am I?" "Very." He leaned back slightly, studying her. "You recognized what we were, in the restaurant. I recognized that you weren't regular customers. Beyond that, I minded my business." "Smart." His gaze was approving. Not many people have that instinct anymore. A waiter appeared with menus that probably didn't have prices listed. Destiny accepted hers with practiced grace, refusing to be intimidated by the Italian she couldn't pronounce. "Order whatever you want," Kyung-soo said quietly. "And I mean that. Whatever you want." There was something in his tone, not condescension, but awareness. He knew she was calculating costs in her head, knew this was outside her usual world. "What do you recommend?" she asked, turning it back on him. "You did that in the restaurant, asked me to commit first." "And you told me to commit first just now," she smiled. "Looks like we're both careful people." "Careful keeps you alive." He closed his menu. "The ossobuco is exceptional here. The lobster risotto is also very good." "What are you getting?" "Ossobuco." "Then I'll try the risotto, see which of us chose better." His mouth quirked, that almost smile she'd seen before. "Competitive?" "When it matters. You? Always." The waiter took their orders and disappeared. Kyung-soo poured wine, something expensive that Destiny couldn't identify, and settled back in his chair. "So, Destiny Robinson, tell me something real." Real. Everyone has a rehearsed story. The things they say on first dates, I don't want that. Tell me something real. Destiny considered him for a long moment, this dangerous man in his expensive suit, who was looking at her like she was a puzzle worth solving. "I moved to Chicago 2 years ago with $800 and a dream of being a journalist. I'm still waitressing, still trying, and some days I wonder if I'm delusional for not giving up." She took a sip of wine. "Your turn. Something real." He was quiet for several heartbeats. When he spoke, his voice was lower. "I've built an empire that my father would have been proud of. I have more money and power than most people achieve in a lifetime, and I'm lonelier than I've ever been." The honesty of it hit her in the chest. "Why?" "Because power requires distance. Trust is a liability in my world. Everyone wants something, and very few people see past what I can give them to who I actually am." "And who are you, Jung Kyung-soo?" His eyes held hers. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Their food arrived, and for a while they ate in companionable silence. The risotto was incredible, creamy and rich with chunks of perfectly cooked lobster. But Destiny was more aware of the man across from her than the food. "Try mine," he said suddenly, holding out his fork with a piece of the ossobuco. "That's intimate," she was going to say, but he was already extending it toward her. She leaned forward and let him feed her the bite, hyper-aware of his gaze on her mouth. The meat was tender, falling apart with flavor. "Okay, you win, that's better. Want to trade?" Before she could answer, he'd switched their plates. It should have been presumptuous. Instead, it felt natural, easy. They talked about everything and nothing: her love of writing, his complicated relationship with his father's legacy, her family in Atlanta, his careful distance from Korean community expectations. He asked questions that showed he was actually listening, and she found herself opening up more than she'd intended. "Why waitressing?" he asked. "If you want to be a journalist, it pays the bills while I pitch stories to publications that don't respond. I have a blog, Chronicles of the City, where I write about Chicago's hidden communities, the people and places that usually get overlooked. I'd like to read it." "Really?" "I meant what I said." "You're interesting, Destiny Robinson." He set down his wineglass. "And interesting people are rare in my world." "What world is that exactly?" His expression shifted, became more guarded. "Import and export, various business ventures, some more legal than others." "Why tell me that?" "Because you'll find out anyway if you look, and I'd rather you hear it from me." He met her gaze steadily. "I'm not a good man by most standards. I've done things that would horrify you, but I'm honest about who I am." Destiny should have been frightened, should have made an excuse and left. Instead, she found herself respecting his candor. "I appreciate the honesty. Will you run?" "Should I?" "Probably." His eyes were dark, intense. "But I hope you don't." Her heart did something complicated in her chest. "I'm not fragile, Kyung-soo. I grew up in neighborhoods where survival meant being smart, not sheltered. I've seen enough to know that people are rarely simple." "No, you're not fragile." His voice dropped lower. "You're extraordinary." The word hung between them, heavy with meaning. Their waiter returned with dessert menus, breaking the moment. But when Kyung-soo's hand reached across the table and his fingers brushed hers, barely, so lightly she almost imagined it, electricity shot up her arm. His eyes darkened, and she knew he felt it too. "There's an art gallery opening next Friday," he said quietly. "Korean contemporary artists. Would you go with me?" "Is that a good idea?" "Probably not, but I'm asking anyway." Destiny thought about Mrs. Chen's warning, about the way his associates had watched every corner of the restaurant, about the fact that he'd just admitted to illegal activities. Yes. His smile was slow, genuine, and devastating. Good. When he walked her to the car he'd arranged, not a rideshare, an actual car with a driver, his hand rested on the small of her back. The touch burned through the fabric of her dress. "Destiny," he said as she reached for the door handle. She turned back. He was closer than she'd expected, and for a heartbeat she thought he might kiss her. Instead, his hand came up to tuck a curl behind her ear, his fingers lingering against her jaw. "This is dangerous," he said softly. "For both of us." "I know, but I don't think I can stay away from you. I'm not asking you to." His thumb brushed across her bottom lip, and heat pooled in her stomach. "Next Friday, 7 o'clock. I'll pick you up." "Okay." He stepped back, and the loss of his proximity felt physical. She got into the car, and as it pulled away she watched him through the rear window, standing under the streetlight, hands in his pockets, watching her go. Her phone buzzed. "Mariah, how did it go?" Destiny stared at the message, then at the city lights blurring past. "I think I'm in trouble," she whispered to no one. The week between dates crawled by like trapped honey. Destiny threw herself into work, double shifts at Mama Chen's, late nights at the hotel cleaning conference rooms, but her mind kept drifting to dark eyes and almost smiles. Wednesday afternoon, a delivery arrived at the restaurant during her shift. "Destiny, package for you," Chen called from the front. She emerged from the kitchen to find an elegant white box on the counter, her name written in precise calligraphy on the card. "Who's it from?" "Mrs." Chen asked, hovering with curiosity and concern. Destiny opened the card with hands that weren't quite steady. "For Friday, though you'd look beautiful in anything." K. Inside the box, wrapped in tissue paper, was a dress. Not just any dress, a silk creation in deep emerald that probably cost more than her monthly rent. The fabric was butter soft, the cut elegant but not ostentatious. "Destiny," Mrs. Chen said carefully. "That man from last week, the one at the corner table. You're seeing him, aren't you?" Just one more date. Even as she said it, she knew it was a lie. "Be careful, honey. Men like that, they live in a different world, and that world has sharp edges." "I know what I'm doing." Mrs. Chen looked at her with eyes that had seen too much. "That's what everyone thinks, right up until they don't." Destiny took the box home and tried on the dress in her cramped bathroom. It fit perfectly, which meant he'd noticed her size, memorized it somehow. The thought should have been intrusive. Instead, it made her feel seen in a way she hadn't experienced before. Friday arrived with unseasonable warmth. Destiny spent the afternoon preparing, twisting her hair into an elegant updo that showed off her neck and shoulders, applying makeup with a steady hand even though her pulse was racing. The dress transformed her. She stared at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the sophisticated woman looking back. But underneath the silk and polish, she was still Destiny Robinson from Atlanta, who'd learned early that survival meant being smart and observation meant staying alive. At 6:58, her phone buzzed. "Kyung-soo, I'm downstairs." She grabbed her clutch, new, purchased specifically because her old one didn't match, and headed down. The Lincoln Town car at the curb had tinted windows and a driver who opened the back door with professional courtesy. Kyung-soo waited inside, and the sight of him stole her breath. He wore a charcoal suit with a black shirt, no tie, and the casual elegance of it made him look both dangerous and magnetic. But it was his expression when he saw her that made her stomach flutter, raw appreciation that he didn't try to hide. "You're devastating in that dress," he said quietly. "Thank you for sending it. Though you didn't have to. I wanted to." His hand found hers in the space between them, fingers interlacing. "And I wanted to see you in something that matches how I see you." "How do you see me?" "Like you belong in rooms where people have forgotten how to be real." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "You remind me that there's still authenticity in the world." The gallery was in the Gold Coast, all glass and modern architecture. They moved through rooms filled with contemporary pieces, bold colors, abstract shapes, traditional Korean elements, reimagined through modern eyes. Kyung-soo's hand never left the small of her back as they walked, a possessive touch that sent heat through her body. He explained pieces when she asked, his knowledge revealing an appreciation for art she hadn't expected. "You really like this stuff," she observed, as they stood before a massive canvas of fractured light. "My mother was an artist, before she married my father, and that life became impossible." Something flickered across his face. "She used to take me to galleries in Seoul when I was young, taught me to see beyond the obvious. What happened to her? Cancer, when I was 17. His jaw tightened. "My father buried his grief in work and expectations. I buried mine in rebellion. We never recovered from her loss." Destiny's hand found his arm, squeezing gently. "I'm sorry." He looked down at her, and the vulnerability in his eyes made her chest ache. "You're the first person I've told that story to in years. Why me?" "Because you don't want anything from me except truth, and that's more valuable than anything money can buy." They wandered deeper into the gallery, away from the crowds. In a smaller room featuring traditional Korean landscapes reimagined with urban elements, they found themselves alone. "My mother would have loved these," Kyung-soo said softly, studying a piece that showed mountains emerging from city streets. Tell me about her. So he did. Standing in that quiet room, he talked about a woman who'd brought light into a dark world, who'd taught him to see beauty even in ugly places, who'd made him promise to never lose his humanity no matter what path he chose. I'm not sure I've kept that promise, he admitted. You're here, aren't you? Sharing her memory with someone who understands what it means to carry legacy and loss. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. How are you real? Before she could answer, voices echoed from the main room, sharp, aggressive, wrong. Kyung-soo's entire demeanor shifted. In a heartbeat, the vulnerable man disappeared, and the dangerous one emerged. His hand moved to her waist, pulling her behind him with practiced efficiency. Stay close, he commanded quietly. They moved toward the commotion. 3 men had entered the gallery, clearly not art enthusiasts. They had the same energy as Kyung-soo's associates, but darker, more volatile. One of them spotted Kyung-soo and smiled without warmth. Jung Kyung-soo. Didn't expect to see you here, Lee. Kyung-soo's voice was flat, controlled. This isn't the place. Everywhere is the place when you owe answers. Lee's eyes flicked to Destiny. Pretty date. New acquisition? The insult in his tone made Destiny's spine stiffen, but Kyung-soo's hand tightened on her waist in warning. Leave. Now. Kyung-soo's voice dropped to something lethal. Before this becomes a problem you can't solve. Your territory isn't what it used to be, Jung. People are talking, saying you're getting soft. Lee stepped closer. Maybe they're right. The tension in the room was suffocating. Destiny could see other patrons backing away, gallery staff pulling out phones. Destiny, Kyung-soo said quietly, not taking his eyes off Lee. Walk to the front entrance. My driver is outside. Get in the car. I'm not leaving you. Now. The command in his voice was absolute. But before anyone could move, Lee's hand went to his jacket, the universal signal that Destiny recognized from too many neighborhoods back home. He had a gun. Everyone stay calm, Lee said, though his smile suggested he wanted anything but calm. Jung and I just need to have a conversation. Kyung-soo positioned himself fully between Destiny and Lee, his body a shield. This conversation is over. You want to talk? We talk through proper channels, not in public, not with civilians present. Maybe I'm tired of channels. The next 10 seconds happened in fragments. Lee's hand moved. Someone screamed. Kyung-soo pushed Destiny toward a side hallway with enough force that she stumbled. Run, he commanded. But she looked back in time to see Lee raise the gun. Destiny didn't think, didn't calculate. She just moved, launching herself back toward Kyung-soo as the gallery erupted in chaos. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space. Glass shattered, people scattered, strong arms wrapped around her, and suddenly she was airborne. Kyung-soo had grabbed her and was running, carrying her through the side exit like she weighed nothing. They burst into an alley. His car screeched to a stop at the mouth of it, doors already open. He shoved her inside and followed, barking orders to the driver in rapid Korean. The car peeled out as another gunshot cracked behind them. Get down! Kyung-soo pushed her head below the window line, his body covering hers as the back window spider-webbed with impact. They took corners at speeds that defied physics. Destiny's heart hammered so hard she thought it might burst from her chest. Kyung-soo's weight was solid above her, protective, and she could feel his heart racing just as fast. Finally, the driver spoke in Korean. Kyung-soo responded, then slowly lifted off her. Are you hurt? His hands ran over her arms, her face checking for injuries with frantic precision. I'm fine. Are you... What the hell were you thinking? His voice was raw, almost angry. I told you to run. He had a gun pointed at you. I can handle men with guns. I can't... He cut himself off, jaw clenching. You could have been killed. So could you. She grabbed his face, forcing him to meet her eyes. So could you, Kyung-soo. Something broke in his expression. His forehead dropped to hers, and they breathed the same air in the back of that speeding car. You're insane, he whispered. Probably. You should run from me as far and fast as possible. I know. His hand slid into her hair, tilting her face up. Destiny. Don't. She pressed her fingers to his lips. Don't tell me this was a mistake. Don't tell me to go, because I'm not going anywhere. This is my world. Bullets and blood and you, she finished. This is your world, and you're in it. And I just watched someone try to kill you and realize something. What? That I'm already in too deep to walk away. His eyes searched hers, dark and intense and full of things neither of them were ready to name. You're going to destroy me, he said softly, or save you. He kissed her. It wasn't gentle or tentative. It was desperate and claiming and full of everything they'd been holding back. His hand fisted in her hair, angling her head, and she opened for him with a sound that was half surprise, half surrender. He tasted like danger and desire, and Destiny kissed him back with everything she had, all the fear and adrenaline and want transforming into something that felt inevitable. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his thumb traced her swollen bottom lip. This changes everything, he said. I know. There's no going back now. I don't want to go back. His smile was fierce, possessive, and absolutely devastating. Good, because you're mine now, Destiny Robinson, and I protect what's mine. The declaration should have scared her. Instead, it felt like coming home. Kyung-soo's penthouse apartment occupied the entire top floor of a building overlooking Lake Michigan. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of the city lights reflecting off dark water, and the interior was all clean lines and expensive minimalism. Destiny stood in the living room, still shaking with adrenaline, while Kyung-soo spoke rapid Korean into his phone. His voice was clipped, authoritative, the voice of a man who commanded empires and expected obedience. He finally hung up and crossed to her, hands immediately moving to check her over again. We need to talk about what happened. Lee. Who is he? Head of a rival organization. We've had an uneasy truce for 2 years, but recently there's been pressure on territories. His jaw clenched. I didn't think he'd be reckless enough to make a move in public. This is about business, territory. It's about power, control, the same things it's always about. He poured whiskey into 2 glasses, handed her one. But you don't need to worry about... Don't. She set the glass down with enough force that it clicked against the marble counter. Don't you dare tell me not to worry. Someone just shot at you, at us. I think I've earned the right to worry. This isn't your fight, Destiny. The hell it isn't. You made it my fight when you kissed me in that car, when you said I was yours. She moved closer, poking his chest with one finger. You don't get to claim me and then shut me out when things get dangerous. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection from information. I need to know what I'm dealing with, what we're dealing with. She took a breath, steadying herself. So talk to me, really talk to me. No more half-truths. He stared at her for a long moment, then laughed, a sound without humor. You're fearless. I'm terrified, but I'm not running. You should be running. Too late. So talk. He did. Sitting in that expensive penthouse overlooking the city, Jung Kyung-soo told her everything. About his father's empire, built on loyalty and fear. About inheriting leadership at 23 when his father was killed by rivals. About the years of consolidating power, making allies, eliminating threats. About the code he lived by, honor among criminals, protection for those who served him, swift punishment for betrayal. I've killed people, Destiny. Not with my own hands, not always. But I've given orders that ended lives. I've hurt people who got in my way. I've built something impressive on a foundation of violence. His dark eyes held hers. Does that terrify you? Yes, she said honestly. But it doesn't make me want to leave. Why not? Because I've seen how you look at art your mother loved. How you treated me like I mattered when I was just a waitress serving you lunch. How you threw yourself between me and danger without hesitation. She moved to stand between his knees where he sat on the couch. You're not a good man by conventional standards, But you're not simply bad either, you're complicated. And so is the world. His hands came up to rest on her hips. You should hate me. I should do a lot of things. Her fingers traced his jaw. But hating you isn't one of them. He pulled her down onto his lap, and she went willingly, straddling him in the emerald dress that had survived bullets and car chases. His hand slid up her spine, and she shivered. This is the last chance, he said against her throat. Walk away now, and I'll make sure you're safe, protected. I'll stay out of your life. No, destiny. She kissed him, cutting off whatever argument he was building. This kiss was different, slower, deeper, full of promise instead of panic. His hands mapped her body through silk, and she pressed closer, feeling his response. Stay tonight, he murmured against her lips. Let me keep you safe. Okay. He carried her to his bedroom, unnecessarily. But she didn't protest. The room was enormous, dominated by a bed with dark sheets and more windows showcasing the city. He set her down gently, and for a moment they just looked at each other. I want you, he said simply, but we don't have to. I want you too. She reached for the tie on her wrap dress. And I'm not fragile. His eyes darkened as she unwrapped the silk, letting it pool at her feet. She stood before him in nothing but black lace, and the way he looked at her made her feel powerful and desired, and absolutely certain. You're perfect, he breathed. Show me. He did. With hands and mouth and words in 2 languages, he showed her exactly how he felt. And when they finally came together, it was intense and overwhelming, and felt like every risk had been worth it. Afterward, they lay tangled in his sheets, her head on his chest, his fingers tracing patterns on her shoulder. My father would have hated you, he said quietly. Thanks. No. I mean, he would have hated that I chose you, that I'm with someone who makes me question everything he taught me about power and control, and keeping emotions separate from business. His arms tightened around her. But my mother would have loved you. She would have said you're exactly what I needed. What do you need? Someone who sees me. Not my money or power or the empire I built, just me. I see you. She pressed a kiss to his chest. All of you, even the parts you think are unlovable. Destiny. Her name was a prayer on his lips. I don't know how to do this. Relationships. Vulnerability. I've spent so long being untouchable. Then we'll figure it out together. They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, 2 people from different worlds trying to build something new. Destiny woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of coffee. She stretched, sore in the best way, and found one of Kyung-soo's shirts to wear. It fell to mid-thigh, and she padded barefoot into the kitchen. He stood at the stove making eggs, wearing pajama pants and nothing else. The sight of his bare back, marked with a tattoo she hadn't noticed last night, a tiger and dragon intertwined, made her pause. That's new, she said. He glanced over his shoulder. Family crest. My father's generation had them. I got mine after he died. A reminder of where I come from. She moved closer, tracing the design. It's beautiful. Not as beautiful as you in my shirt. He caught her hand, pulling her against him. How do you feel? Good. Really good. She kissed his shoulder. You? Terrified, he admitted. But in a good way. I've never had something to lose before. Not really. Now I have you, and the thought of something happening. His phone rang, cutting him off. He glanced at the screen and his expression hardened. I need to take this. He kissed her forehead. Eat. I'll be right back. But when he returned 15 minutes later, his face was carved from stone. What's wrong? Lee made another move, hit one of my warehouses last night, killed 2 of my men. Destiny's stomach dropped. I'm sorry. This is war now. Open war, and I can't... He stopped, jaw working. I can't have you in the crossfire. What does that mean? It means you need to stay away from me until this is resolved. No, she stood. Absolutely not. Destiny, this isn't negotiable. Lee knows about you now. He saw us together. You're a target. Then protect me, but don't push me away. I am protecting you by keeping you away from what? From you, from your life? Her voice rose. You told me I was yours. You said there was no going back. Was that a lie? Of course not. But I can't focus on this war if I'm terrified something will happen to you. I can't make the decisions I need to make if half my attention is on keeping you safe. Then teach me. Tell me the rules. Let me help instead of treating me like a liability. You don't understand what you're asking. Then explain it to me. She grabbed his arm. Don't shut me out, not now, not after last night. He pulled away, running hands through his hair in frustration. Last night was a mistake. The words hit like a physical blow. You don't mean that. I should never have gotten you involved in my world. I was selfish. I wanted you, and I didn't think about the consequences. His voice was flat, emotionless. This ends now, before someone really gets hurt. You're scared. She moved closer. You're scared because you care, and caring makes you vulnerable. But running from this won't protect either of us. You need to leave, Destiny. Kyung-soo. Now, please. He turned away, presenting his back. My driver will take you home. Consider our arrangement over. Pride warred with heartbreak in her chest. She wanted to fight, to scream, to make him see reason. But the rigid line of his shoulders told her he'd made his decision. Fine. She grabbed her dress from where it had been draped over a chair. But you're a coward, young Kyung-soo. You survived bullets and built an empire, but you're terrified of actual intimacy, of being vulnerable with someone who sees through your armor. She dressed quickly, anger fueling her movements. At the door, she paused. When you realize you're wrong, and you will, I might not be waiting. She left before he could respond, before the tears threatening could fall, before her resolve could weaken. In the elevator, descending from his penthouse fortress, Destiny let one tear escape. Then she straightened her spine, dried her eyes, and prepared to face a world that suddenly felt much colder than it had 12 hours ago. 3 days passed in a blur of work and sleepless nights. Destiny threw herself into double shifts, writing until her eyes burned, anything to avoid thinking about dark eyes and gentle hands. Her phone stayed silent. No calls from Kyung-soo, no texts, nothing. Mariah noticed immediately. You want to talk about it? There's nothing to talk about. Destiny poured coffee with mechanical precision. It was 2 dates, that's all. Destiny, I'm fine, really. The lie tasted bitter. Wednesday afternoon, Mrs. Chen called her into the kitchen with an expression of deep concern. Honey, there are men outside. They've been there for an hour, just watching. Destiny's blood ran cold. She moved to the window and spotted them immediately. 2 men in dark suits, leaning against a car, clearly surveillance. Call the police, she told Mrs. Chen. Are you sure? Maybe they're just... Call them. Now. She was dialing when her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Destiny Robinson. The voice was unfamiliar, smooth. You don't know me, but I know you. I know you're at work. I know you walk home at 11. I know you live alone in a studio apartment with a broken lock on the back window. Her hand tightened on the phone. Who is this? Someone who has questions about Jung Kyung-soo, about his operations, his weaknesses. A pause. About you. I don't know anything. Maybe. Maybe not. But you're going to meet me tonight. 10 o'clock. The parking lot behind your building. Come alone. Or your friend Mariah, who leaves her night class at 9:30 and walks 3 blocks to her car, might have an unfortunate accident. The line went dead. Destiny stood frozen, terror and rage warring in her chest. She looked at the men outside. They weren't there to watch. They were there to make sure she knew she was being watched. This was Lee. Had to be. And he was using her to get to Kyung-soo. She grabbed her phone and dialed the number she'd sworn not to call. He answered on the first ring. Destiny. Someone just threatened Mariah. The words came out in a rush. They know where I work, where I live, her schedule. They want me to meet them tonight. Where are you? His voice was lethal. Mama Chen's, there are men outside watching. I know, they're mine. What? Did you think I'd just let you go? Walk away and leave you unprotected? Anger roughened his voice. I've had people watching you since you left my apartment, making sure you were safe. You had me followed. I had you protected. There's a difference. And apparently it was necessary since Lee just made his move. She heard him barking orders in Korean. Don't go anywhere. Don't talk to anyone. I'm sending a team now. He threatened Mariah. I'll handle it. She'll have protection too. A pause. Destiny, I need you to trust me. After you pushed me away, I was wrong. Terrified and wrong. And I've spent 3 days in hell knowing I hurt you. His voice dropped. But we'll deal with that later. Right now I need you safe. What about the meeting? He said 10 o'clock. You're not going anywhere near that parking lot. I'll handle Lee. He'll hurt Mariah. No, he won't. Because he's not going to live long enough to make good on his threats. The cold certainty in his voice should have terrified her. Instead, it made her feel safe. Okay, I trust you. Thank you. She heard a car door slam. My team is 2 minutes away. When they arrive, go with them. No arguments. Kyung-soo, I'll come to you when this is over, I promise. A beat of silence. And Destiny? I'm sorry. For everything. I should have fought for you instead of pushing you away. You can make it up to me later. Right now, end this. Count on it. The next hours were surreal. 4 men in suits appeared at the restaurant, Kyung-soo's people, and escorted her to a car. They took her to a safe house, a nondescript apartment with armed guards and no cell service. Waiting was torture. Destiny paced, imagined every worst-case scenario, and prayed to a god she'd been neglecting that everyone made it out alive. At midnight, the door opened. Kyung-soo stood there, suit jacket gone, white shirt torn and blood-stained, a cut above his eyebrow that had been hastily bandaged, but he was alive. It's over, he said. Lee and his lieutenants are dead. His organization is scattered. Mariah is safe. I have people with her now explaining everything. Your friend Mrs. Chen has security posted at the restaurant. He swayed slightly. You're safe. Then his knees buckled. Kyung-soo! Destiny caught him, helped him to the couch. You're hurt. Just a graze, looks worse than it is. But his face was pale, jaw tight with pain. Let me see. He tried to wave her off, but she was already unbuttoning his shirt. The bullet had carved a furrow across his ribs, deep enough to bleed profusely but not life-threatening. Still, her hands shook as she grabbed the first aid kit one of his men provided. You could have been killed, she whispered, cleaning the wound. But I wasn't, and neither were you. That's what matters. She taped the bandage in place, then just sat there staring at this infuriating man who'd pushed her away to protect her, and then gone to war when she was threatened. I hate you, she said. No, you don't. You're right, I don't. She cupped his face, careful of his injuries. But you hurt me, when you pushed me away. I know, I'm sorry. His hand covered hers. I've spent my whole life being untouchable, not letting anyone close enough to matter. And then you showed up in that restaurant with your strength and your smile and your absolute refusal to be intimidated by me. And I fell. Fell? Hard and fast and completely. His dark eyes held hers. I love you, Destiny Robinson. I didn't plan it, didn't want it. But I love you with everything I have. And that terrified me more than bullets ever could. Her breath caught. Say that again. I love you. You're mine and I'm yours, and I don't care how complicated that makes everything. His thumb brushed her cheek. I told Lee that before I killed him. Told him that nobody touches what's mine and lives. That's the most romantic and terrifying thing anyone's ever said to me. Is it working? She kissed him, gentle because of his injuries, but no less intense. I love you too. You impossible, dangerous, infuriating man. I love you. His smile was blinding. Stay with me. Not just tonight. Stay with me. Move into the penthouse. Let me take care of you while you chase your dreams. Let me be part of your life the way you're part of mine. I can't just move into your penthouse. I have a job, responsibilities. Keep them. Work at Chen's if you want. Write your stories. Chase every dream. He pulled her closer. But come home to me at the end of the day. Let me be your safe place while you're mine. This is crazy. We barely know each other. I know enough. I know you're brave and brilliant and stubborn. I know you see past the monster everyone else sees to the man underneath. I know that I've never felt for anyone what I feel for you. His forehead touched hers. Marry me. What? Marry me. Not today. Not this week. But soon. Let me make you mine in every way possible. You're delirious from blood loss. I'm clear-headed for the first time in my life. He kissed her softly. Marry me. Destiny. Build a life with me. Show me what real love looks like. She should have said it was too soon, too fast, too complicated. Should have listed all the practical reasons this was insane. Instead, she heard herself say, yes. His kiss was claiming, possessive, full of promise. Mine. Yours, she agreed, but that means you're mine too. Always have been. Since the moment you looked me in the eye in that restaurant and treated me like a person instead of a monster. He shifted, wincing. Stay with me tonight? Just hold me. I'm not going anywhere. They moved to the bed in the safe house, and she held him while he finally let his guard down completely. This powerful man who'd built an empire and commanded fear, vulnerable and human in her arms. I promise to be worthy of you, he murmured against her hair. Every single day. You already are. I'll make you happy, Destiny. I swear it. I know. She kissed his temple. Now sleep. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow. And surrounded by guards and danger and the consequences of his world, Jung Kyung-soo fell asleep with the woman he loved in his arms, finally understanding what his mother had meant about finding someone worth everything. Years later, standing in that same penthouse overlooking the lake, Destiny watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. The ring on her finger caught the light, simple but perfect, just like the man who'd given it to her. Behind her she heard his footsteps. Still, after all this time, her heart skipped when he entered a room. Working? Kyung-soo's arms wrapped around her waist, chin resting on her shoulder. Just finished a piece. She leaned back against him. About Korean-American fusion cuisine and the restaurants bringing communities together. Mrs. Chen will love it. She better. I'm featuring Mama Chen's kitchen prominently. Destiny turned in his arms. How was the meeting? Productive. The legitimate businesses are thriving. The other operations, he shrugged. I'm getting out. Slowly. Carefully. But I'm building something different. Something our children won't have to apologize for. Our children. His smile was slow, devastating. Too soon? Considering we've been married for 3 years? No. I think it's perfect timing. He kissed her slowly, thoroughly, the way he still did every single day, like she was precious and necessary, and entirely his. I love you, he murmured. My salvation. My destiny. That's the corniest thing you've ever said. But you love it. I love you. She cupped his face. All of you, even the corny parts. They stood together as night fell over Chicago. Two people from different worlds who'd built something extraordinary together. The journey had been complicated and dangerous and absolutely worth it. Because some things, some people, were worth fighting for, and they'd both found exactly what they'd been missing in each other.